Welcome to the Seniors Rock Show, presented by the Law Office of Michael Robinson, PC, on News Radio, Wham 1180. The Seniors Rock Show, a lively weekly discussion shedding a bright light on aging with fun, entertainment, and important info for all adults. Join in with your comments or questions. Call or text 222-1180 or 1-800-295-1180. Now from the News Radio Wham 1180 studio in downtown Rochester, here's your host, Joanna Palvino.
Thanks for listening and joining us today. And if it's your first time listening to the Seniors Rock Show, I'm your host, Joanna Palvino. I'll introduce myself, and I am here with my co-host, estate planning and elder law attorney of 35 plus years, and he really looks young for that, the legendary Mike Robinson, and also Pam, our producers with us. And, when you support adults and their families the way that Mike does with his practice, his estate planning practice, you really see what people can do. And we try to do that on the show too. We try to make, we try to be positive. We try to support families and talk about the aging process and how it can really be a positive thing if you think about it in the right way sometimes. So that's good. It means you're showing your passion. And when you get excited about things like that. And our guests today show their passion from head to toe, literally. And they are Dr. Michael Giordano is here. He's excited about an alternative treatment being used for common foot and ankle problems. Many of these problems are related to aging. And then another subject that often concerns older adults and their families is hearing. So audiologist Dr. Ali Santola will share ways to keep our ears protected today. So I hope you'll stay tuned for that. And did you know, Mike, that October is Protect Your Hearing Month? It's important to protect your body, of course, and also important that we protect our hard-earned assets. And we talk about that every week, too. That's where my co-host, estate planning and elder law attorney, Mike Robinson, comes in. So I would really enjoy, before I let him have the mic, I have that gift of gab. I just wanted to say I really enjoyed my time off last week. Mike and Fitz did a great job covering for me while I was on vacation. I was on the West Coast and got to spend time with some close friends and family, and it was wonderful. And I'm feeling refreshed, and I got a lot of hugs. So I'm happy to be back, though, and happy to be here with you guys. So happy Saturday, Mike. Good to see your face.
Happy Saturday, Joanna. We missed you last week, but I know you had a great time, and so I'm glad you were able to get out and see the family. And, I know you had some beautiful weather, but you missed some spectacular fall weather back here as well.
Really?
It was really a beautiful week. I think I heard on the news that this was the warmest, or has been the warmest October on record.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's unfortunately it's inhibiting the color change in the trees. I was down in Naples yesterday and saw some color, but up around here not so much. But it's been clear. Even though it's been warm, got to see the full hunter moon rise a couple of nights this past week. So good stuff.
What's the hunter moon? Tell us about that.
So that's what they call the October. Sometimes it'll fall in early November. They got a name for every moon depending on what's going on. So this one is traditionally called the hunter's moon.
And that comes from the Native American culture?
And I think too, just this is hunting season is coming up, and so it just happens to fall at that time of year.
Mm-hmm.
They don't consult me on the naming of the moons. Otherwise, I'd have more information there.
We'll work on that. Okay. Well, I always love all those things you tell us about nature. It's always wonderful and, things we forget about every day. And I know that you have you've come up with an idea to open up the lines for listeners more. We've been doing the good, bad, and ugly, but I think you've got a new idea and I really like it. Tell the folks about that.
Yeah, so what we want to do is get back to inviting people to call with questions, or if you're not comfortable calling, send us an email. In fact, we're going to go over a couple of questions today that folks sent us in via email. But yeah, you can call us here at the station at 222-1180 or toll free 1-800-295-1180 and ask your questions. And again, if Pam will take your call, and if you're not comfortable being on the air, that's fine. Let Pam know what your question is, and we will do our best to answer.
Very good. I can't wait. Now, so, we are getting, there's one other way that you didn't mention, and that is not as quick, but would love for you to call today. But you can also go on to the website, seniorsrockradio.com, to the comment page anytime during the week and leave a question, and we'll put it on the air the next week. Go ahead, Mike. Tell us about the questions you have today.
Yeah, so first question is, and I love this question because it's one that we get so often. But the question was, well, if I have a will that's very detailed and spells out exactly what I want to have happen when I pass away, doesn't that avoid probate? And the answer to the question, and the reason it's important is because it impacts how your estate's going to be administered, is that if you use a will to pass on your estate, no matter how detailed the will, probate is going to be required. And in fact, the word probate comes from Latin, and the direct translation is to prove the will. And if you're wondering, well, what is probate? Why should that be a concern? So probate is the process. It's a court supervised process by which the will, first of all, is determined to be valid. Secondly, then if it is and all of the respective interests are protected, the judge will appoint an executor. And until the executor is formally appointed by the judge, they have no legal authority to deal with a deceased person's assets. And so if, folks have heard of situations where somebody dies and then accounts are frozen for some period of time, that's why that happens. They're waiting for an executor to be appointed. And people try to avoid probate. At least that's their intention, because especially if they've experienced it, they know it takes a long time, on average 9 to 24 months. It gets to be expensive, especially if there's minor children or grandchildren involved. Some people don't like the loss of privacy that comes along with it. So there's a lot of legitimate reasons why people want to avoid probate, but simply having a detailed will isn't going to do it. And in fact, not only doesn't it avoid probate, it actually requires probate. And then I guess the follow-up question will be, well, so what are the alternatives? And there's a number of different alternatives. Which alternative is right for any given person or family depends on their situation, what types of assets they have, what are their wishes in terms of what will happen with the estate when they pass away. So a lot of different options. Important to talk with someone knowledgeable who can guide you through the process. People can certainly attend one of our free webinars where we cover a lot of these alternatives. A lot of options, but don't simply rely on the will. For most people, that's not going to be the best option.
That is great information, of course. And I'm just going to jump in here and say, folks, if you are thinking about your own situation, you have a question, you've got a very, very good attorney right here, free, if you want to give them a call and ask your question. You can use an alias name, whatever you want to do, but give us a call, connect, and get your questions answered. It's 585-222-1180 or 1-800-295-1180. We are live now on the Seniors Rock Show, and you're listening to Michael Robinson. He is the law office of Michael Robinson, estate planning and elder law. So again, give us a call. But I do know he got another question from someone, and Mike, I'm going to turn it back to you now.
Yeah, sure. And this one is, well, if I'm married and I die, doesn't everything automatically go to my spouse? And once again, the answer is no, not necessarily. Now, if you have a joint account with your spouse or you own your home jointly with your spouse, then yes, those items will automatically belong to them at your death. But if you have accounts in your own name, whether you have a will or don't have a will, first of all, you're looking at a court process. But if you don't specifically leave that to your spouse in your will, what your spouse receives is going to depend on a couple of different items. One is, do you have children? Because if you do have children, then your spouse will be entitled to the first $50,000 of your estate. But everything above that gets divided half and half between your surviving spouse and your children. And many people are not aware of that. maybe that's what somebody would want to have happen, but maybe not. And so if so, you can't just assume that the law provides everything's going to go to your spouse. And the other thing I wanted to mention, and thank you for mentioning the webinars and such. Yeah, I've said this before. We are very fortunate in the Rochester area to have a number of fine estate planning attorneys. So there's really no reason why someone can't find a qualified attorney with whom they're comfortable to help talk them through this process. The important thing is to talk with somebody who is an expert in the field and can be helpful.
See the kind of guy he is? Mike, you are very modest, and I know that you're one of the best. And I thank you for saying it, folks, to go to somebody. If you're not going to Mike, go to somebody. And if you've gone to someone a long time ago, something I always hear every week is check out what your papers say because things change. And I have a question, Mike, to go back to the spouse question and who receives benefits. Is the common law, hear people say, well, we're not married. A lot of people have partners now. What's the legality of common law? And is it legal, I guess? And how long does it take for that to be a legal union?
So that is varies state by state. But in New York State, we do not recognize common law marriage. So you're either married or you're not. It's like you're either pregnant or you're not.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you, Mike. And his next webinar is November 10th at 2 p.m. Go to mrobinsonlaw.com if you'd like to check that out. And you can register. It's super easy. You can be anonymous and just watch from home. So next coming up, do you know, maybe you have, or you know someone who has foot or ankle issues? Stay right there for expert podiatrist Dr. Michael Giordano. He uses an alternative to pain medication, and it's working. Don't go away. Next on Seniors Rock and News Radio, Wham 1180.
I was on my way. Thanks to you, I'm much obliged. Such a pleasant stay.
Welcome back to the Seniors Rock Show. I understand we do have a caller. We are going into the next segment. We have a doctor coming up. I know you're waiting to hear about that alternative for pain. So before we do that, though, we're going to ask Sarah to ask her question. Mike's here, and he'll keep it brief so we can get back to our guest. But I wanted Sarah to have a chance to ask her question. And if he needs more time, of course, Pam will take your information, your phone number, and so on, and Mike will call you off air. So Sarah, welcome to the show. What's your question?
Hi, thank you so much. My question is this. When we were talking, the show was talking about probate. I have a pretty much a detailed will. I'm single. I don't have any children. I don't have much family. And the family I do have, they're all set. So I wanted to leave, in the event of my death, I wanted to leave, something for very close friends and their children. And so I had that very much detailed in my will, and I just wanted to know how safe and secure that is and how that will hold up in probate, or if I need to do something more than that.
Sarah, that's a great question. It really, though, does depend on especially with the children of friends, what their ages are, what exactly it is that you're wanting to pass on. What you have right now may be perfectly fine, but maybe not. And so I'd be happy to have a conversation with you to help you with that. But it's going to take a lot longer than we have here available on the show. So if you can leave your contact information with Pam, happy to send you an email or set up a phone call, and we can see how you might be situated.
Okay, thanks very much. I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe, Joanna, we have Dr. Giordano on the line.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, and thank you for calling, Sarah. There's so many people with questions, and those webinars are great for that too, but Mike will get a hold of you. So back to our next guest. So many people are living with chronic pain, Mike. Chronic pain is defined as pain on most days or every day. So knowing the dangers of pain medication like we do today, that, most people are hoping for relief without the use of prescription drugs. So I was excited that our next guest Dr. Michael Giordano has some good news to that end. And he's a practicing podiatrist, and that, if you don't know, is a foot and ankle doctor in the Rochester area. He's been doing it for some 33 years, and he's currently an independent practitioner with Podiatry Associates of Rochester. He's working through the Rochester General Health System. And he's here today. Dr. Giordano was here to discuss some common foot and ankle problems. And I know you're waiting. And here it is. It's how lasers are changing his treatment options. That's right. I said lasers. So welcome to the Seniors Rock Show, Dr. Michael Giordano.
Well, good afternoon, Joanna and Mike. I appreciate you taking time to take us in.
Well, we're happy to
How you
have
guys
you
doing?
here. And it's very interesting. I mean, this whole laser thing, I mean, it seems so Star Trek-ish to me. But I'm wondering now, how long has it been a practice? And I have a question about plantar fasciitis too.
Well, lasers have been around forever. Okay, they really have been. And you hear, of, just like you said, the Star Trek, the laser beams and things like that. Some smart people have been able to harness those lasers and bring them to a position where you can actually use them to help heal different ailments, such as arthritis and tendonitis. And in this case, what you mentioned, plantar fasciitis, is a very common type of injury that occurs. And I probably, during the summer months, see 3, 4, sometimes 5 new cases a day. It's a
Wow.
condition
Yeah, I
that
hear a
can-
lot of people say that. That's why I want to hear about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, no. What it does is you sprain the ligament. If you reach down and feel that cord that runs the arch of your foot from the heel, it's an injury to it where it doesn't tear, but it actually pulls apart like a rope being frayed. That builds up over the course of several days, several months, and the inflammation and swelling associated with that very painful, especially first thing in the morning. If you sit down for a while and then you go to stand up, or if you overdo it, nothing else helps.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good. And I know that, we talked about chronic pain earlier. There's so many people. I think I was reading it was like just under 20% of the population here in the States are suffering with chronic pain. And what other conditions would lasers be helpful for?
Well, lasers help with tendonitis, it helps with arthritis, and then what it does primarily is it eliminates the need for a lot of cortisone shots, it eliminates the need for narcotics, and in a lot of cases, it eliminates the need for surgery.
Wow, that's big, very big. And tell us, how is it a hot thing or cold? What happens? What's it like?
Well,
And I guess my first question is it painful?
Well, it's not painful. Okay, what they've done, infrared lasers, infrared light, has segmented pulses that penetrate different tissue clinics. So what they've done is again, a smart person took these segmented pulses and they segmented them, staggered them, so that now hot laser becomes cold. When it's
Okay.
actually penetrating the skin, it's really not cold, it just has no feeling at all. But it's pretty neat because it doesn't burn.
Wow. Okay. Well, doctor, I have to say it's time to go. I hate to tell you that, but we're going to have to wrap it up here. But I hope, folks, that you'll go to ortholaser.com and learn more about this impressive new treatment. And you'll see some testimonials that I was impressed with on their website. That's ortholaser.com. We'll be right back on the Seniors Rock Show. Don't go away.
Now by audiologist Dr. Ellie Santola, who's been with Heart, Hearing, and Balance Centers since June of last year. And Dr. Santola grew up in Rochester and is excited to be back living and working in the community after receiving her doctorate in audiology from the University of Pittsburgh. And she enjoys biking, running in Mendon Ponds Park, spending time with family and friends. So, Dr. Santola, welcome. And I know Joanna would like to say hello, and she's got some questions.
Well, hello there, Allie, doctor. I just wanted to say hello and welcome to a great team of people. I've been familiar with those folks over at Heart, Hearing, and Balance Center for a number of years now, and it's a good place and real family atmosphere. So congrats to you. And here's my first question. As the
Thank
newest
you.
member of the team at Heart Hearing, we'd like to know what you enjoy most about the work that you do.
Yeah, so I would say kind of first and foremost, it's working with my patients to determine really the best kind of treatment plan and plan of action. So every patient that comes into the office comes with a different perspective, different set of, wants and needs, and overall different goals. And while most patients in general want to hear better, who or what patients want to hear can be vastly different. So really the challenge of making an appropriate recommendation for each patient is probably what I enjoy most, but a close second would be working alongside some pretty amazing colleagues, which you know, Joanne.
Yes, they're great people. It is, and it is a family. I mean, really, it was started by a family, and I know Dr. Peter Hart's been on the show, and his dad, and again, I think it's a wonderful place for you to be. And I guess from what you're saying, it's very there's a lot of variables here. So let's chunk it down a little bit for the listeners. Who should come and see you? What paint a picture for us of the type of person that comes to you.
Yeah, so I think the obvious answer to that question would be anyone who's having difficulty hearing. Or if you're a family member and you're noticing your mom, dad, grandparents, whoever having difficulty hearing, those are the patients who most likely come in. But as an audiologist, we can help diagnose and treat, many other issues. So if you're someone, is experiencing tinnitus, which is that medical term for ringing or buzzing in your ears, you should see an audiologist. If you have dizziness or vertigo, which is a spinning sensation, you should see an audiologist. I see a handful of triathletes and swimmers who hate getting water in their ears. So they see me or my colleagues at Custom Swim Molds. Or if you have any noisy hobbies or your job is loud, you should see an audiologist for custom hearing protection. Many people think that we only do hearing loss, and while that is a large part of our profession, our scope of practice is so much more than just that.
And I'm going to mention it is Rocktober, Doctor. So we're talking about, we know a lot of people who are rockers. They like going to concerts, or maybe they went to a few too many as younger folks, and we're paying for it now. But
I hear that quite often.
Yeah, I bet you do. And don't stand so close to the speakers, people. I guess we're going to I'd like to know, though, I know, there's a lot of advances in hearing aids and other devices that you can use to help with your hearing without going through, an audiologist is the person who's going to point you in the right direction. What are the latest advances?
Yeah, so hearing aids have definitely come a pretty long way, even within the past few years. They're no longer these big, large, clunky devices that sit behind your ear and constantly whistle or squeal at everything. They're pretty discreet now. Hearing aids are also rechargeable. So instead of dealing with these teeny tiny batteries and changing them every week to 2 weeks, you can just pop the hearing aids in the charger every night. But really the most recent advance in hearing aid technology is that there's actually a hearing aid now that's fully waterproof. I can't tell you, Joanne, the amount of times I've had a patient accidentally wear their hearing aids in the shower or just get them wet, and that impacts the functionality. Where with these new hearing aids, that's no longer an issue. And I think the waterproof hearing aid is really going to be a huge game changer in not only the hearing aid industry, but also patient adoption and satisfaction with their hearing aids.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's a big breakthrough. And
I
can imagine if you're used to wearing them, you jump in the pool or in the lake or whatever in the summer, that could happen easily, or of course the shower. And I didn't know this, but looking into preparing the agenda, I understand that October is Protect Your Hearing Month. And I know Mike has a question for you about that.
Yeah.
Hi, Doctor. My question is, we're getting into hunting season. And what should hunters be aware of, and what can they do to protect their hearing?
That's actually a great question. So I come from a family of deer hunters. So every time, hunting season rolls around, October 1, my family members say they won't wear hearing protection because then they can't hear the deer. And if you can't hear the deer approach, then you can't, get ready. And on top of that, my dad specifically tells me that he doesn't even need hearing protection because if he's lucky, he's only going to be, discharging his firearm a handful of times. My usual response to him is that even one loud, impulsive sound, like a firearm being discharged, can permanently impact your hearing. On top of that, hearing protection has also come a long way. So traditionally, hearing protection would, dampen or block out all sounds evenly. And that wouldn't be helpful for a hunter who wants to hear these soft sounds of leaves being stepped on or twigs cracking. But hearing protection has gotten pretty advanced, and there's specific protection for hunters that allow certain sounds to be heard, like a deer walking through the forest, while other sounds, like a shotgun going off, to be dampened. And that really allows a hunter to enjoy the best of both worlds. You can still hear what you want to hear, which is good, but you don't have to sacrifice your hearing, because we know that, one bout of noise exposure can impact your hearing. And that's obviously not what I want. That's not what a patient wants or a family wants.
Doctor, can you tell us what your number is and how to get a hold of you? That's the music, and we have to go to break.
Oh, yeah, of course. You can get more information at harthearing.com, HART hearing.com, or call one of our 5 locations. One of the numbers for the Titus Ave in Irondequoit is 585-266-4130.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. We'll have you on again, Doctor, and best wishes to you there. And stay focused right there, and we'll be right back.
Must be getting early. Clocks are running late. Ain't by the morning sky. Looks so phony.
And welcome back to Seniors Rock Radio. I'm estate planning and elder law attorney Mike Robinson, here with host Joanna Pelvino. And Joanna, Dr. Santola's information was interesting. I know that audio technology with respect to hearing aids had improved quite a bit, but it's fascinating to hear just how selective now in specific to certain uses that can be.
Absolutely. And you can barely tell that someone's wearing them. I think it's wonderful because, we're all getting older, and, this is the first time that such a large group of people have become older and, staying healthy into the late years and 90s sometimes and hundreds. And these are things that are going to affect a lot of folks. So it's a very big breakthrough to be able to wear your hearing aids in the shower and just, not worry about it. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And, folks, in our generation, we just grew up not knowing that hearing protection was important. I mean, I grew up, working in or with and around power equipment right up through, when I was a kid until I graduated from college. I'm one of those people who went to the concerts and stood in front of the speakers. So, a lot of us have those issues.
Absolutely. I remember one time we went to a concert, and John, my husband, was with me at the time. We weren't married, but this is when we were young and carefree. And he was standing next to a speaker. His ears were ringing for 3 days, literally. So, yeah, that's great. So Heart Hearing and Balance, they're a wonderful organization and a family practice. And Allie Santola is a great addition to that. So I'm glad for that. And speaking of addition, Lifespan has a new family mediation service, Mike, and they are going to be on the show next week.
Yes, that's a great service. I'm looking forward to hearing more about it.
Yes, because and I know because we're in this industry, some folks may not know until they get into the thick of it. But when you are trying to make some plans for someone in your family or a loved one or a friend, and there are several people involved, especially siblings, family members, there's always going to be differing opinions. So Mary Burke and Deb Cardillo from Lifespan, they're going to come to you, or you can go to them, whatever is more comfortable. They're going to help you to work through those things. And that's the most important part, and then there's going to be people who don't want to get involved in the decision. So they'll just guide the family, and they'll tell us more about that next week. That's Saturday on October 30th that they'll be here from Lifespan.
And as you say, it's not at all uncommon, and it's not something for people to be, ashamed of or embarrassed about. There are differing opinions within families, and people have different information that informs those opinions. So having someone to just help you talk through the process and really nail down what are the real issues, I just think that's a great service. And as I say, I'm looking forward to hearing a lot more about it next week.
Yes, and I've already heard that in the GRAPE organization, which is the Greater Rochester Area Partnership for the Elderly, which we, all of us here on the show, happen to belong to, just coincidentally, because we are all passionate about helping people through the aging process and helping their families. We've all been there. We know what it's like. So, yeah, I think Mike's going to be referring some of his clients over to Lifespan for this mediation service if they need it. And I heard that from a lot of other companies that are in Grape, that they were so excited to be able to have someone to refer these folks to, because you can't do everything. And these and Mary Burke and Deb Cardillo were actually trained very well, and they've got a lot of experience in this type of work. So Lifespan's amazing. They've got 30 something services, I think, now, and they're there for everyone. Questions, tons of volunteers. And by the way, they always need volunteers. So if it's something you're looking to do, maybe just part-time, check it out. Go to Lifespan and online, or give them a call. And I think you'll be surprised at all the wonderful things they do. And you might get involved in that yourself. Now,
So, Joanna, I've got an important question for you. Do
uh-oh.
you have your Halloween costume set?
Well, sadly, we live in a townhome and there's no kids that come here. So, no. The answer is no. Are you going to have, Pam, do you have a place where kids come? Are you going to a party?
My road is too busy, so they
Aw.
always come to the houses behind mine, unfortunately.
Are you going to dress up?
What was that?
Are you going to dress up?
Probably not, no.
Oh, bummer. All right, Mike, you're the last one.
All right, I'm
Are
not
you-
yet. I'm one of those kids who was always a hobo because he couldn't decide on a costume until Halloween night. So that'll
I'm
probably
getting a
be me
visual.
again. So
I can see you with a stick and a what is it, a rag on the end of
something
the
like that. Yeah. So, well, hey, another great week, and great to have you back. And we'll look forward to doing it next week. And listeners, have a great week yourself. Be well and be kind.
Have fun. And if you're looking for a Halloween costume, there's lots out there. So, you might have to get creative, though, because I hear there's a backup on deliveries. Anyway, have a great week. And don't forget, we are happy to be here with you. I hope you'll come back next Saturday at noon. And always, Seniors Rock.